Turn to somebody sitting next to you, look them in the eye, and shake their hand. Don't shake it all weak. Shake it like you know it. Shake it like you say it. Look at them and say, neighbor, life happens. Oh, yes it does.
Yes, it does.
Amen. It happens. Let me start off by witnessing to the over 50-year-old crowd first. I didn't know you were there. Gave yourself away. But many years ago, and back in the day, a young lady that I had the pleasure to work with to become friends, Miss Shirley Austin Reeves. Now that name may not ring a bell with you, but Shirley Austin Reeves was the lead singer of a girls singing group known as the McReynolds. Now, somebody here may have heard about them. They had hit record boy. Tonight's the night. Will you still love me tomorrow? And this is dedicated.
Okay now.
But there was one hit record that they had that encouraged listeners on how to cope with unpleasant days. And that song said, Mama said there'll be days like this.
Amen.
There'll be days like this, Mama said. And that record imparted the challenge of day-to-day living. Do I have a witness here? I might as well go ahead and make it plain for somebody this morning. How many times have you run into somebody and they're complaining, got a frown on their face, like they've been whooped with a heavy, ugly stick, and they're talking about, well, you know, I'm just having a bad hair day. In fact, they ought to be thankful for the little hair that they got left on their head. Then you got those preachers that come around talking about, well, I got out on the wrong side of the bed this morning. But I know some who will be glad to have the strength to get out of any side of the bed. And others who wish they just had a bed that they could sleep in. Well, I wish I had a witness in the church this morning. How many times on your job, or maybe even in your house, somebody rolled up on you, looking lost in the sauce, agitated and aggravated, and talking about, it's not my day. Well, if it's not your day, why don't you thank the grace of a good God for giving it to you anyway? It's like the deacon once told me, he said a bad day walking around beats a peaceful day under the ground. Now, I share this with you because isn't it peculiar how we measure and number our days? Let me knock on somebody's door and see who's home this morning. If there's anyone ever been sick and been in the hospital, well, if you have, you can tell and testify to somebody else exactly how long you were laid up in that hospital room. Am I right, somebody? But how many of you can tell and testify to somebody else how many days the Lord let you walk around healthy and feeling good? Am I on somebody's street this morning? So, if I can move from the street to the spiritual, we find in our text a lesson with day-to-day living. Because here we find Timothy having to deal with the issues of being a young pastor and having his friend, his mentor, the Apostle Paul, incarcerated and sitting on death row. Yet Timothy is encouraged by Paul, who reminds him to think back, because life happens. mama said there'll be days like this. In our text this morning, we have a word of encouragement to a soldier in the army of the Lord by the name of Timothy. Timothy is being mentored by the Apostle Paul. And in this most touching, personal, and sensitive, a spiritual letter that Paul writes to Timothy, that we're eavesdropping in and eavesdropping on, Paul seeks to encourage his young protege Timothy by recalling his relationship and memories of Timothy's mother Eunice and his grandmother Lois. Eunice, Timothy's mother. Eunice was a wise and spiritually strong mother.
Amen.
And that may be in part because her priorities were learned and handed down from her mother Lois. You do know that some things just run in the family, don't you?
All right now, go ahead.
I think Mother's Day is a good time as any